All right, here is the fence cost calculator from Strong Perimeter. With this tool, you will be able to measure how long your fence is and define some details about it and quickly generate an estimate for both staining your fence and for installing a new fence. We'll provide material lists and costs if you were to take the DIY approach, and also a cost if you were to hire Strong Perimeter to do the project for you, whether you were to pay us to stain your fence or to install a new fence. And it's pretty accurate. So it's a very exciting tool for you to just quickly get what you want. You can then download the estimate, and then contact us if you'd like to move forward with it, or to have a verification of the quote, to where we also do the measurement just to make sure that things were done correctly. Maybe in some cases we'd need to come out to take a look at the fence, but this is a great starting point. So what you can do is you can either plug in your address, or you can just zoom in and search. So you can use the plus and minus here. You can click and drag to move around. And so let's actually just hop into the Forney area here, and let's just zoom in on a random house. Let's see. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Let's take this corner lot here, because it's pretty clear that, as with most neighborhoods in Dallas-Fort Worth, um, most homeowners' fences, they don't really own the whole thing. So maybe they own a couple sides, but then a couple of the sections are actually shared with their neighbor, to where they're responsible for maintaining one side, the neighbor is responsible for the other, and so on. So what we can do is switch to our hand selector, and we can actually just click on this address. It's automatically going to populate the search field with the actual address, and it will also populate the address down here. So now we can switch to our measurement tool, and we want to start on one end of the fence and measure all the way around to the other end. Now, in some cases, the satellite view here is a little bit at an angle, and so depending on shadows and kind of how things line up, you need to kind of make measurements based on what is most likely there in real life. So here on the shadow, we can see that we can see a little bit of the side of the house here, and so I'm going to start a little bit off the top of the roof right there to compensate for that. Then we cut over here and click again, and we come up here, click again, and it doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but this will give us a good quote. Now here, the fence goes right on the house line. We can see up here that this is where the gate is, so we want to pull our line all the way up here, and then also give us some space here because there's most likely a gate there. And then how we finish off a measurement is we click on that final dot. Now we suddenly see numbers pop up on our sections. So the cool thing is we don't just get one full measurement for the whole fence. We have individual measurements for each section of a fence. So that way we're able to be much more accurate in our calculations for number of posts that are needed, pickets, all that type of, rails, all that type of stuff for all the materials, but also for stain, because now it allows us some flexibility down here in this next table. So let's say you are looking to just have your fence stained. Maybe you're trying to decide if you want to just take the DIY approach or if you'd like to hire someone to do it. And this tool will help you make that decision. So here are your fence measurements. We've got, this fence has 5 sections. We see the length in feet for each section and the height. Let's say, just to show you how to use the tool, it defaults to 6 feet, but let's say maybe these front sections are 8 feet and then the rest are 6. So let's say section 1 is 8 feet, and let's say section 5, this final little walk gate section, is also 8 feet, just for the sake of showing the flexibility here. And you can see the total square foot for each section adjust as we do that. So we know 8 feet, 8 feet, and 6 feet. So now we can likely say that this owner owns section 1 and section 2 because it's not shared with any neighbors. However, section 3 and section 4, it seems like are most likely shared with neighbors. So if that is the case, then for staining both sides, you'd turn that toggle off for section 3 and turn the toggle off for section 4. So now you see the total square foot for that section for staining cuts in half because we're not staining the both sides of that section. So now we have a really accurate number of 1,558 square feet for this home's fence of what would actually need to be stained. And now we can then take that square foot number and say, okay, how much stain do we need to buy? So if we scroll to this stain your fence section, now here's where you get to your quotes. So the DIY approach will cost you right at about $1,200 to stain this fence, because that's both buying stain and buying some materials, or excuse me, some tools. So a backpack sprayer, a stain brush, your PPE, your goggles and mask to keep yourself protected, some rags, a drop cloth, and a hose and a wand. Now most homes will already have a hose and a hose wand. Most people already have rags they can use and maybe goggles and mask. The bulk of the cost is going to come, and it's well worth it if you're doing the DIY approach, is buying a backpack sprayer, a more powerful one, to spray the stain on. But overall, let's say you have none of this. Tools are going to cost you $400. Now for stain, for 5-gallon buckets, you're going to need 4 5-gallon buckets, which is going to cost you $800 in stain before tax. So this total for you to DIY this is 1204.04 times 1.0825. So your total cost is actually going to be $100 more after tax. Your total cost to do this will be just over $1,300. Or you could hire Strong Perimeter. You could hire us for just a little bit more, $1,460, and you don't have to worry about it. The professionals will take care of it. We know exactly how to apply the stain to protect your fence. You'll be able to get the warranty through the stain for the stain through us, because most stain companies, to actually be able to have the warranty that it advertises, it has to be professionally applied. And so, for example, with Wood Defender, their transparent stains have a 2-year warranty, and semi-transparent have 3-year warranty. That only applies if it's professionally applied. And so, for example, if you were to hire us to do a semi-transparent stain, you're covered for 3 years from Wood Defender for that stain. Now, one big thing to consider and keep in mind here is that the estimates for square foot coverage that a stain gallon advertises is very off. It's based on best case scenario, a very light coat, all that stuff, right? So there's lots of variables that come into play here. But most buckets advertise like 175 square feet per gallon or so. Some even advertise up to like 225, maybe even 250 per gallon. We have found that you will only get 100 square foot per gallon if you are actually applying it correctly, so that it's actually soaking into the wood and really protecting your fence. And so really 1 5-gallon bucket will cover you for 500 square feet. That's why you're going to need 4 5-gallon buckets. That will also, in this case, that will also leave you a little bit left over, so that in the inevitable moment in the future where a picket falls off due to a storm, or gets broken from a dog, or maybe just some knot holes fall out and you need to replace the picket, then you have some extra stain that you can then just take a stain brush and quickly hit that picket before you install it or after you install it, so that your whole fence matches. So you're going to spend $800 before tax on stain, and then the rest on tools. So really for $160 more, you can hire us in this scenario to stain your fence. But if you want to take the DIY approach, we've got your tools list here. You can click to buy at Home Depot or buy at Amazon. So we've got some quick links here that go directly to those products where you can purchase them. Now for stain, we highly recommend Wood Defender and we highly recommend Ready Seal. Those are the 2 brands that we've found the most success with, where it lasts, it looks good, and it really protects your fence. feel free to reach out to us. We can actually get Wood Defender stain for much cheaper than you can in the stores. We're more than happy to help you out there to help you choose the right stain for you and to help you find where is best to purchase that stain. Now, let's move on to a fence installation. So we've already got all the measurements. We know exactly what needs to be done. And so now we just need to choose the styles so we know what type of materials we need. So board on board will do full privacy. That's the most popular fence type. Now then you need to choose options. Now in this case, let's just say, hey, we don't need all the frills, rot board cap and trim. Maybe we want no additional options. We just want the full privacy, most basic, most affordable option. So continuing on that theme, we're going to choose Japanese cedar. Now I highly recommend doing Western red cedar. The wood is much more quality. It will not warp or crack as quickly and as often as Japanese cedar will. But Japanese cedar is also much cheaper than Western red cedar, so it's a good budget option. So in this case, let's just choose Japanese cedar. If you do choose Japanese cedar, I highly recommend you must stain it immediately after install, or even stain the wood before you install your fence. That way you will have the least possibility, the lowest possibility of that wood actually cracking and warping, due to the sun here in Texas. Now, Postmaster posts are just a little bit more expensive than round steel, but they hold up to higher winds and they're just a lot more straightforward to install. So they're better and they're just a little bit more expensive. But just continuing on the theme of trying to, if you're doing it DIY, you're going to try to get the most bang for buck. And in the end, round steel is probably the most bang for buck, but it's worth it to do Postmasters if you can scrounge up the extra few $100 to do Postmaster posts. In this case, let's do stain for the quote. Now we have another materials list. It's a lot bigger than the materials list for just staining your fence. But we've got posts, rails, pickets, concrete. You're going to need a lot more concrete than you expect. Most companies, and even if you go to a fence supply store and set up an account there, they're going to quote you based on doing one bag of concrete per post. That is not nearly enough. If you want your fence to last, it starts and is mainly comes down to the posts and how they were installed. So to have your fence last, you need strong posts. And that boils down to having a 12-inch in diameter hole that goes down 50% at least of the fence height. So if you have a 6-foot fence, your post holes need to be 3 feet deep. If you want it to be better, go 4 feet deep on a 6-foot fence. On an 8-foot fence, you want to be going 4 foot deep for sure. So 50% of your fence height to go down. So that means you're going to be using 3 or 4 bags of concrete per post, but you're going to set yourself up for success in the future. That's how we do it. Now we do a bit of a combo of different types of concrete. So you'll see 1 bag of concrete per post for Maximizer concrete. It's a higher PSI concrete. It's a lot stronger, but it takes 24 to 48 hours for it to cure, so it takes a long time for it to set. We have found it's best to do 1 bag of Maximizer per post, and then 2 to 3 bags of fast set concrete, depending how deep your hole is, how big it is. That way we're able to have everything cure in about an hour so that we can continue putting wood on the fence, knowing that it's already set enough. But you will still get some curing over the next day or 2 following to add more strength to it. And so that's why you'll see 2 different concrete bags here. Now, because we have, if you remember, we said that a couple sections are 8 foot and the rest of it is 6 foot, the materials list takes that into account. So now we have 12-foot posts for those 8-foot sections, and we have 9-foot posts for those 6-foot sections. That allows us to go 50% of the height of the fence down into each post hole. You'll then also have different picket sizes because we have different size fence sections. Then you've got rails, which are the 2x4s that go horizontally for your pickets to nail into. And then obviously you've got the hardware, the nails, the Simpson tie screws. Those are what holds your pickets to your rails and what holds your rails to your posts, basically. And then because we selected stain, we now also have 4 5-gallon buckets. Now this cost right here that we've included in the installation, this is, for example, what we pay for a 5-gallon bucket. All of these costs are what we pay with our fence supply companies for these materials. You might not be able to find it this cheap. If you would like to order through us, you can contact us and we can run the most up-to-date pricing. Obviously, we'd have a little bit of markup, but it would still be cheaper than buying all these materials retail from, and it'd be better quality materials. So better than buying from Home Depot and Lowe's. You'll get exactly what you need and for the best price. So feel free to contact us via chat, call us, email us, whatever it is, and we can look into helping you get materials for your DIY project. So we want to help in any way that we can. So if you want to take the DIY approach, or if you want to hire someone, we're more than happy to be there and to do the project for you if you'd like to pay us to do that. And so let's move forward and show you the installation quote. So now that we finished that last option of selecting stain or no stain, and if you change these, this will automatically adjust our materials list. So feel free to go back through and play with the different styles, and so that you can figure out the best bang for buck for you to get what you want, but also fitting within the budget you need. So this total cost here of materials is, assuming you're getting kind of that best pricing possible from fence supply companies. Now then we include tools and equipment if you want to take the DIY approach. If you're a DIYer, you likely already have a bunch of these tools, but here's everything at a minimum that you'd need. So we've got buy on Amazon links, buy at Lowe's links, so feel free to use those. It helps us out a lot. If you do use these links, we likely will make a commission if you end up purchasing those products or some products after following our links, and that helps us to be able to, this tool does have costs. Now, if we scroll back up, we've got our totals. So total of materials, again, assuming you're getting materials through us, this will be a little bit more, but if you're able to set up your own accounts with fence supply companies, this is about what you're going to be at for tools and materials, $5,600 plus tax. So really after tax, here in Texas, you're actually just over $6,000. With this fence, exactly how it's measured and set up here with the section measurements and everything, we would charge $11,120 to build that new fence. If you're just staining, we would charge $1,460. So it's a really cool tool. You immediately get exactly what you want. Again, you can go through and edit exactly what you want stained. You can edit exactly what style fence you want and get an updated materials list for a DIY approach or a total cost if you want to hire a professional. Our pricing is very competitive, but if you do get a quote, if you do want to hire someone and you do get a quote that's kind of right around our pricing or a little better, feel free to contact us. We'll do whatever we can to win your business and get and kind of be a consultant for you to get you exactly what you need. You can contact us by calling us at 214-247-6369. You can also text that number. You can get a free quote here on our website. You can chat with us on our website. So yeah, reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.